Alright, today we are going to have another series of research presentation. Today I'm using the board to present this, how to present a research work. After carrying out a research work, you are expected to present it before a panel. And the panel is made up of the lecturers in that particular department. And they expected you to present your work very well. To make a recap from what we have previously presented, today I want to make it a bit clearer for you to understand so that you will able to conquer what we call fear. Now, quick one, for you to be able to present this perfectly, you must conquer the following. You must conquer the following. Conquer the following. You must conquer the following. Number one, conquer fear. Fear. Having the phobia, the fear to stand before a people, to stand before a crowd, to stand before a panel, you must conquer that fear first. Secondly, you must conquer your speech. You must conquer your speech. I've seen a lot of persons who can speak very well, but when they stand before a panel for presentation, they mess up. They forget everything they want to say, and they end up doing a messed up presentation because they have not conquered their speech. They will start fidgeting, being afraid, shaking, and intimidated. Therefore, you need mastery. You need mastery. Now, if you want to do good presentation, you must have mastery of yourself first. Mastery of yourself. Now, if you have no mastery of yourself, you cannot have mastery of your research topic. In order to have mastery of your research topic, you must have mastery of yourself. First, realize that you are a student who is not perfect. So nobody is expecting you to present a perfect work. All what you're expected to do is to present the work and explain in concept. Now, today I'm going to use an example of a topic to present this for you. And then I'm going to explain this gradually. So we are going to start the presentation. How presentation is done. How presentation is done. Now, first, we are looking at chapter 1. Chapter 1. And that is the introduction. Have a mastery of your research work. Introduction, we have 1.1. Background to the study. Background to the study. Now, for example, you are carrying out a study on blended learning environments as a determinant of business education, students, instructional outputs in higher institutions of Bayelsa State. Now, this is a topic blended learning environment as a determinant of business education students' instructional output in higher institutions of Bayelsa State. And if you are asked to present a topic like this as a student, whatever is your topic, it could be impact, influence, effect, and whatever is your topic, the first thing you should understand is the concept. Now we have blended learning environment, starting from blended learning. Now in this particular topic, what you need to understand is the concept of blended learning, the concept of blended learning environment. And then we'll now look at the determinants of business education student instructional output. What is instructional output? And you are expected to define in few words. If you are to define your topic, you'll be able to define your topic without stress. Now look at it. That in your background to the study, during presentation, you are to present it in 1-2 minutes. For example, if I want to present this in 1-2 minutes, I will start that when I enter the hall, what I'm expected to do is to greet the panel. Good afternoon, based on the time, maybe it's afternoon time. I will say, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, other lecturers here present. My name is Mr. Gentle Semela Popele, here to present my research topic titled Blended Learning Environment as a Determinant of Business Education Students' Instructional Output in Higher Institutions of Bayelsa State. Blended Learning Environment. Blended learning is the combination of the traditional method of learning and the online element. Blended learning environment is the combination of both the traditional and the online present in a learning environment. That student instructional output simply means the measurable outputs, what could be used to measure the student performance. We can also say student performance. That there are a lot of learning systems. We have the lecture, discussion, field trip, and the rest. But it has been found out that these methods has not been effective. Therefore, the introduction of blended learning environment is to enable students to have a concrete instructional output. Now, when you present this, you are blending it with 1.2 statements of the problem. Statement of the problem. Now, it has been observed that the educational system depends on the traditional method of learning. And the traditional learning method of learning simply means the one-on-one, the method of learning, the teacher present in the class with the student, explaining concept to the student. Now, these methods, just as I have earlier mentioned, the lecture method, discussion method, field trip, demonstration method, and the rest of them, has been in existence. But as the world is a dynamic world, change is dynamic. We have come into a global world where learning is now advanced. And students that concentrate on the traditional method of learning is no longer coping with the current demand of the labor force. Hence, there is a need to introduce a new method of learning, so that the student can be able to meet up with the demand of the labor market. That is why the blended learning environment is needed, or to be inculcated into the curriculum of business education, in order for students to acquire skills and competencies that will enable them to be effective and productive at the time of graduation. And this is the gap being observed in the study. Now, once you state the problem in your studies, remember, I want you to understand all these under the study. Then, you come to your purpose of studies. Your purpose of studies. Now, the purpose of study is also known as the objective. Now, many persons do not understand that in the topic we have the dependent and the independent variable. The dependent variable here, is the blended learning environment. While the independent variable is the blended learning environment, while the dependent variable is the student instructional output, and all these are used to effectively present your work. Now you bring out your variables from which part of the work you want to, research work you want to use. For example, from these studies you can talk about, concentrate your studies on student instructional output. And if a blended learning environment is applied, what will be the student instructional output? Then you'll be looking at digital literacy. We'll be looking at digital ethics. We'll be looking at digital ethics. We'll be looking at, let's add another one, learning management. We have the learning management. All these, learning management, yes, all these ones, maybe you can create more of them. There are a lot of them. Now, if you are creating your objective of your studies, this will become the specific objectives, and you state them as variables. They are known as variables. So the question may be asked, what variables are you using for your study? The same is applicable. After the 1.3 is 1.4, which is your research questions. Your research questions. For example, if you are stating your purpose of studies as it depends on blended learning environment as a determinant of business education students, digital literacy, you are removing the instructional output if you are using the instructional output as your dependent variable. If you are using it as a dependent variable, then you change it to the various variables you have created. And having understood this, you understand that the research questions are converted from your purpose of studies. Your purpose of studies is transformed to research questions, and then the same thing is done for studies that carries hypothesis. But where your work has no hypothesis, then you will just move on. Now, after the 1 point in your research, after 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, you come to 1.4. After the 1.4, you come to 1.5. Now, the 1.5 is the significance of the studies. Now, this is where many students will have problems. The significance of the study is talking about the categories of persons to benefit from that studies. For example, we have the Ministry of Education, and then we have the business education students, we have lecturers. Now, when you state these categories of persons, like the following categories of persons will benefit from the studies, and you state them, after stating them, you now explain how this study will help the Ministry of Education. How will the Ministry of Education benefit from this study? And then you explain how business education students will benefit from the studies. And then we come to the 1.6, which is the scope of the study. Now, when we talk about the scope of the study, we are talking about the delimitation. the limitation of the study. Now, remember, the limitation is not the same as limitation. The limitation simply means where the study will end, not the barrier. Limitation is that the barriers encountered while carrying out the study. Now, your delimitation has to be number one, content. Your content. The content is your delimitation are the variables you use for your purpose of study. Number two, we have the geographical. Now, the geographical is where the study is being carried out. From this topic, you can see that the study is carried out in higher institutions of Bayelsa State. Now, this study is to be carried out among all the institutions that offer business education in Bayelsa State. From our findings, we discovered that there are only 3 institutions. We have a lot of them. We have Federal University Otweke, we have COE, College of Education, Borough College of Education, Sagbama, we have Tororua University, African University, Tororua, then we have Niger Delta University, we have College of Health, School of Health, we have School of Tourism, a lot of them. We have plenty of them. But among all of them, we have only 3 schools that offer business education. Niger Delta University, Federal University of Otweke, and COE Sagbama. These are the only 3 schools that offers business education. Therefore, the study will now be carried out among these 3 schools that offers business education. And then you also move on. I will not claim the topic, but I want to use this part to explain. Now, after the 1.3 and 1.6, we come to 1.7. 1.7. In your 1.7, you have the operational definition of terms. Operational definition of terms. You have the operational definition of terms. Now, at this operational definition of terms, you now operationally define not according to the way dictionary defines the word, but according to the way the word is used in your study. For example, instructional output. In this study, instructional output is operationally defined as student performance. The outcome. We are talking about the outcome, student performance. We use student performance. So then that one is operational definition. Blended learning is operationally defined in this study as a combination of 2 methods of learning, which is the traditional method and the online present. Like a student attending class, after the class you go to YouTube to watch video, just as you are watching this video online to learn how to do your presentation and understand your research work. A question, today I'm explaining these things one after the other because question can be asked from any place. There is no limitation to what a question can be. That is why I want you to understand it. So chapter 1, your chapter 1 carries 1.1 to 1.7. And once you know these things without looking at them in your book, then that will help you to conquer that fear, because mastery of your research topic, your research work will give you edge ahead others. And remember that research is a big 4-unit course which you don't need to joke with. You need to actually learn a lot of things. Now, after the chapter 1, you come to chapter 2. I'm not talking about how you can present it, but I'm talking about understanding your research work. In chapter 2, depends on the school you are, but in NDU, we are literature review, faculty of education. Now we have, in the first one, we have the conceptual review. Number 2, we have theoretical framework. Number 3, we have empirical evidence. Number 4, you have appraisal of literature, which is literature summary. Now, these are the 4 points in chapter 2. In this conceptual review, you will now discuss all the concepts in your topic. Each of them, at least discuss them in 2-3 paragraphs and pages. Discuss each of them. Then when you come to the theoretical framework, you should apply theories that are related to the topic. Find theories that are related to the topic and then explain them in consonance with your topic. Then you come to the empirical evidence. Now, this empirical evidence is so useful that you will still need them in chapter 4. That is why you cannot just use any work to apply in the empirical evidence. Now, your empirical evidence should be discussed based on your variables. Each of the variables at least get at least 2-3 works to support each variable. That means if you have 5 variables and you are discussing 3 empirical works on each of the variables, you will have 3 for each of them. And then you also remember that this empirical evidence, you will use them in your discussion of findings in chapter 4. And that's why you cannot use anyhow work. You have to use work that are available. And the empirical evidence, you can get them from either journals that are empirical or research works that are empirical. You will see the abstract, and the abstract of those works explain the method and everything about that work. Is the summary of the work. Then appraisal of literature is the summary of all things you have discussed from conceptual review, theoretical framework, empirical evidence. Then you conclude with the literature gap your study intends to fill. And then after doing that, you come to your chapter 3. You come to chapter 3. I want you to understand that this is the format that is applicable in Faculty of Education, Niger Delta University. Chapter 3. Now, in your chapter 3, you are talking about the methodology. We are talking about the methodology. Now, the research methodology you apply here, we have 8 points here. And let me explain each of them. This is 3.1. Because this 3 is because it's chapter 3. This one is, this is 2.1, this is 2.2, this is 2.3, this is 2.4. Now, according to the chapter, this is chapter 2. This means chapter 2, 1, chapter 2, 2, chapter 2, 3, chapter 2, 4. Now, this is chapter 3, 1, 3.1. We have the research design. We have the research design. Your research design, you cannot just pick any design of research to apply in your work. It must be a research design that is applicable to the study. Just as we have a lot of, if it is in the sciences, they use mostly the experimental research design. But in education, we don't apply experimental, we rather apply quasi-experimental. And we have the survey design, the descriptive design, and the rest of them. But we have the expo factor design and the rest of them. These are designs we use in the study. And then your 2.2, is the population of the study. The population of the study. The population of the study. 3.2. Okay, sorry. The 3.2, population of the study. Just as I told you, this is 3. Population of the study. The population of the study comprises all the characters that you are using for that studies. If it is students, if it is lecturers, if it is students, lecturers, marketers, whoever you are using for the studies, then you state the entire population and also state the source where you got that population from. Because in research, you cannot do assumption that I think by imagination. No, you must state where you got that from and make sure you have an approved letter from that place. Then 3.3 is the sample and the sampling technique. I have the 3.3, the sample and the sampling technique. Now, the sample and the sampling technique, if you have a large population like 1,000, you have to reduce the number you will use for the study, and that is where sampling comes in. One of the best sampling formulas to use is the Tarry-Yamen formula. You will use the Tarry-Yamen formula to deduce the sample you want to use for the study. You can use the purposive sampling technique by intentionally choosing the number you can be able to afford. And then we have the random sampling technique, which you just don't use any qualification. Anyone you meet, you give them the questionnaire to respond. Now, remember this. Your population are the respondents. When they ask you who are your respondents, remember the people you state in your population, either students or teachers. That is 3.3. Then we have the 3.4. Well, the 3.4 is the instrumentation. Now, this is where you explain your instrument. And basically, you are using questionnaire as your instrument. If you are using questionnaire as your instrument, you will explain how the questionnaire will be constructed. The questionnaire is mostly called closed-end questionnaire, whatever, because closed-end questionnaire because the instructions stated there have no opinion of the respondent. The respondents are only giving their view based on strongly agree, agreed, disagree, strongly disagree, or they are giving their view based on high extent, very high extent, high extent, low extent, very low extent. And now look at it. Instrumentation, your questionnaire, you explain how many parts your questionnaire is divided into. We have the section A carries the demographic data of the respondent, either male or female, high or low, senior or junior, or whatever. And then the next part of the section of the questionnaire carries your questions, the research question. Then we have the 3.5, the validity of the instrument. Validity of the instrument. Now, when your validity of the instrument, your instrument is face validated, mostly face validated. They said face validated. Face validated. Face validity is just like looking at the design of something, so it has no much impact. But then we have two other important validations. We have the content and the construct. We have the content and the construct validity. Now, the content validity, your instrument is validated by your supervisor and other experts from other departments. Like now, for the content, your supervisor can validate it and give to another expert also. But for the construct, you give to other experts. For the construct, you give to other experts, like in test and measurement, unit. Now, for the construct validity, you give to other experts in test and measurement unit. And then after that, you come to 3.6, which is the reliability. The reliability of the instrument. Reliability of the instrument. the reliability of the instrument. Now, the instrument, how do we know the instrument is reliable? In order to ascertain the reliability of the instrument is given to at least 10, 20, 30 persons of the same category that you want to carry out the study. For example, you want to carry out your study with students in NDU, in agric education, technology education, business education, and you want to ascertain the reliability of the instrument. You ascertain it by carrying out the study with the same category of students, business education or agric education or technology education, in another university, not in NGO again, but this time around in another university. If the study is to be carried out with 200 level students, you will also carry it out with 200 level students in that university, but that the number is few, either 10, 20, 30. Then when you give them the instrument, if you carry out the instrument 2 times, maybe after you giving them, after 2 weeks, you come back and administer the same instrument to them, then you will now use Pearson product moment correlation coefficient to determine the coefficient index. And then if it is once, you administer the instrument once, to just carry out a pilot test, or to once, and if it is carried out once, then you are using it to test the internal consistency of the instrument, and you use Cronbach alpha to determine the reliability index of the instrument. That is to tell you that the instrument is reliable. Then you come to 3.7, administration of the instrument. Now, this is simple. How do we go about it? You, after your proposal, you are expected to go out and give the people, the respondents, the instrument to respond to. So the administration is you will personally administer the instrument, and if the population, the sample size is large, then you will involve 1 or 2 persons to help you, which is known as research assistant. Then 3.8 is method of data analysis. Now, the method of data analysis, we majorly use the mean statistical. We majorly use the mean statistical tool to analyze the data. Now, the mean is used, and the mean has a rule. Now, the rule is that any mean below from 2.50, any mean below 2.50 is rejected, while the mean above 2.50, from 2.50 and above is accepted. Now, this is the reason why you have 2.50. This is the calculation of the 2.50. Now, for you to get this 2.50, remember your instrument is questionnaire, and the questionnaire is constructed in 4-point rating scale. 4 points rating scale. It's 4-point rating scale. And since it's 4-point rating scale, for example, you have strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. Now, by the 4-point rating scale, this is 4, this is 3, this is 2, this is 2, this is 1. Now, if you add 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, you will get 10. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. You have 10. Now, for you to look for the average, you now count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So, you have 4 here, 4 to get the average, and 10 to divide to be divided by 4, or 4 to divide 10, you will have 2.5. And in statistics, if you see anything like 2.5, it means there is 0 here, 2.50. So now, by this decision rule, it is known as the criterion. It is known as the criterion or the decision rule. In case you are asked how you determine the 2.50 for mean rating as far as its 4-point rating scale, then you explain it this way, and they will now know that you actually know what you are talking about. And this is the way to explain it. We all keep on learning every day to become better. And I believe that with these explanations I've made on the board today, your research presentation in coming weeks and days will be better. And after you present, your presentation will not be more than 5 minutes. You are not to present it the way I presented it on the board, but I'm only explaining this to you. Watch my previous videos on proposal presentation. This is just an explanation, and then after this video we are going to come up with another video explaining chapter 4 and 5, chapter 4 and 5, and how to write abstract from your work without depending on someone. How to write abstract without depending on someone. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel so that you can be able to get our videos anytime we drop it. You get notification. Thank you, and God bless you till we meet again.